tell me from a job viewpoint, right? Job market viewpoint, data engineering and data scientists. Do you see their requirement going down in the near future?
It will go up.
It will go up.
Yeah.
No, people.
Yes, it will go up.
Why?
Because you are going to have a lot more applications, lot of industries which
That's
did
what I
not
wanted to hear. That's what I wanted. Thank you. Yes. That's what I wanted to hear.
which did
Because
not
that's our
use
business.
data,
Right.
which did not believe in
Right,
AI.
right.
Now they are embracing,
Yes,
right
yes,
now.
yes.
Manufacturing, like lot of...
Yeah, I'm very happy. Thank you. Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, Talent First. Today, I have a leader who has, whichever company she has worked in, that company has scaled very fast in that department. Across the 3 companies she has worked, it's always been the case. She's a person who's very focused on making sure Gen AI gets its use cases in business outcomes. She's a person who has been a practitioner, is leading entire P&Ls, so knows the entire life cycle of how the data, AI, analytics industry works. So hi Muthu, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good.
How's it going?
Great.
What have you been up to these days?
I am doing a lot of Gen AI projects. Of course, that is the buzz of the town. So,
Yeah.
of course, I've also jumped into it as soon as,
Yeah.
I saw the buzz, and
Right.
there's no looking back. Almost every week, we are seeing new advancements that are happening in the industry.
Right.
So, I'm still learning, but it has been fun so far.
Perfect. So, Muthu, the way we start is we ask our guest an elevator pitch. So, if you had to give an elevator pitch without talking too much about your work,
Sure.
how would you give an elevator pitch?
I will attempt that. So I finished, my engineering and in Anna University College of Engineering, and then I started my career with Mu Sigma as a business analyst, which was super fun because it was all about number crunching, and
Right,
I've
right.
always loved math growing up.
Yeah.
So it was fascinating for me to understand what is analytics
yeah.
because I did not do post graduation,
Right.
so I would consider my experience at
Right.
Mu Sigma was an excellent start for me to understand analytics. Then I joined Accenture after 2 years with Mu Sigma, and there I spent about 6.5, 7 years there, where I transitioned from analytics to data science, where when I started analytics, we used to work with very small amount of data,
Yeah,
right? So that
yeah.
is where we saw that okay, you don't need to take decisions based on 100 samples or
Right,
few
right.
people who choose to respond to surveys,
Right,
etc.
right.
So that's where I saw things scale and got a lot of exposure to machine learning at scale. Then data science came up, and that's when I took a break from Accenture because I wanted to do something on my own. And then I quickly realized that entrepreneurship is not for me. And
Right.
then I quickly ran back to corporate, where I got an excellent opportunity to work at Brillio.
Right,
They
right.
were also at the initial start of their journey with
Sure,
analytics.
sure.
So it was at a sweet spot for me to go in and do my thing with
Yeah.
Brillio. And there's no looking back again. Last 6.5, 7 years, I've been doing multiple roles at Brillio, where we are now seeing the whole transition from traditional AI data science
Sure.
to generative AI. So that is my journey so far.
Very cool. So let us try to just forget about the work right now. Let us just try to think that you were born in Chennai, near Chennai.
In Trichy.
In Trichy. You were born in Trichy, and I'm assuming this is just an assumption that you would ideally come from a conservative family.
Yep.
This is an assumption. So talk us through when you were in class 9th, 10th. What were your ambitions? What was the best case scenario in your life? How did you plan for it? And did it actually happen, or did something very different but very good happen?
Yeah. As a kid, I used to like a lot of sci-fi movies, right? Obviously, all of us kids would have loved, some of those episodes. Like so many things. Like I used to, watch Star Wars. I used to watch a lot of, I used to generally
Right,
like
right.
sci-fi movies and be in my own zone.
Yeah,
I used to, whenever I wrote these English creative writing, it would be very far from reality, right?
Right,
So
right.
I always wanted to do something related to AI. Obviously,
Right.
I did not know what is AI, etc. But I liked math, right? These are the two things that I liked. But when I was in my 9th and 10th, it's not like, I knew this is how my
Obviously.
career was going to be, etc.
Right, right.
But I wanted to get into a good college, right? And I was working towards that. And then I got into College of Engineering, Anna University.
So you did your computer science or
Computer science. And then, at that point, it's just, get into the top college that was available. Of course, I did not prepare for AIEEE. So because of that, I did not get into NIT. But, other than that, within Tamil Nadu, College of Engineering was good. So I wanted to get in and take up the best branch, right? Which was a big mistake that I did. I should have probably taken computer science, but I took ECE because, I was just influenced by so many...
EC is back in fashion these days. I'm not
I don't
joking.
know that, but maybe that was not the right branch for me. I
yeah,
didn't do too well in college. I was a very average Joe who just scraped through the 4 years of
Tell
engineering.
me one thing, right? If I look at your circumstances or your surroundings at your home versus in your college, normally there's a stark difference.
Yep.
People go to a very different geography, talk to people of very different cultures. Now, if I try to look at your journey, what I see is that it was different, but not that different from the overall household kind of locality you are living in, right? Because again, Tamil Nadu only. So was that a call that you or your family took that you will remain in Tamil Nadu, or it was something that just happened?
A lot of this was influenced by your family and, like I knew what I wanted, but then I was not very decisive at that stage in life, right? And we didn't have so much exposure that maybe, when my kid takes that decision, he would have exposure to a lot of things today for him to take those informed decisions.
No, so what I'm trying to ask is that, let's say your house is not that far from your college.
Yes.
What that means is that whenever there are vacations, you would ideally go back home.
Yep.
Now that is the time when people actually build friendships and sort of, have their groups, go out and stuff like that. I'm just trying to paint a picture here, right? Now my assumption is that you were one of those sort of nerdy kind of people who would go back home. So do you ever feel that if your college was outside your town, outside your state, it would have been different?
It would have been different, but for my personality,
Fair.
I think this was still okay, but I still think I could have done a lot more, and it's not like my parents restricted me so much, but as a personality, I always chose, comfort, over like I'm wearing sneakers with my dress. So this is like
respect for anyone
so
wearing
for me,
sneakers.
Comfort was more important. Maybe I should have gone or tried something, but I don't have too much regrets about it. Culturally, I think Chennai was very different from Trichy. I stayed in hostel with my friends. And
how was it? How was the hostel?
It was fun, right? Because for me, I was getting exposed to a lot of, different cultures. Again, within Tamil Nadu, it's very, diverse backgrounds people came from. So that was fun. And it was also culturally shocking, like I said, right? I grew up in a very different kind of atmosphere, very protected atmosphere. I grew up in a township, which is maintained by, central government. So from there to coming to Chennai, where you had like water scarcity, etc., that was a shock for me.
This is something what research data has shown us, that people who come from a protective background, when they go in college, when that protection goes low, that's when they do the most mischief. That's a basic connotation around it. I'm not saying you did it. What I'm trying to ask is, did you?
I wish I'd done some mischief, but but no.
Fair enough. So now you are an EC. And if I'm understanding, in Mu Sigma, you joined in a computer science part, right? What did you join Mu Sigma for?
I joined as business analyst.
So EC people can do that?
Yes. So the way the interview itself happened was very fun, right? So we had different rounds where we had aptitude test, which was filtering out, a lot of people. Then we had group discussion. Then we had interviews. Then
that time.
And then there was a round where you have to compete against each other. Like for example, you and I are, selected. Then I have to, argue that I am a better candidate than you, right? That was all like really fun. It was awesome for me to, meet the founder of Mu Sigma back then, right? Dheeraj himself was there in the college. And the process after the interview also was pretty good. Some of us got selected, like almost 6 months before our college ended. And we had no idea what is analytics, right? Because we were all like coming from engineering background. So we got a lot of, books, trainings. Whenever he came to Chennai, he used to, take us out talk about what is analytics, what do you do with customers. Back then, like customer itself, what is customer? Why is he saying client, customer? Like lot of jargons we got used to. We also got invited to the annual party in Mu Sigma. That gave us exposure to, okay, this is how corporate life is going to be, which was so wrong because we thought this is all going to be party and fun and stuff like that.
Right.
But of course, we had to work hard when we eventually joined. But that gave us a good exposure to what is my life going to be before we finished our college.
So, Mu Sigma, if I'm not wrong, whenever I talk to anyone from this AI analytics industry, the minute the word Mu Sigma comes, they all look at it with like a lot of respect, where they tell me that Mu Sigma was the pioneer. Dheeraj, they were the pioneers of whatever happened in this industry. Like whatever offshoots we see, all these analytics companies running these valuations and raising money, they all have somehow had some kind of roots from Mu Sigma. So explain to me, how was Mu Sigma as a brand at that time when you were getting out of college? Because I'm sure there were Accentures, TCSs of the world who were also there at that time. And Mu Sigma was a relatively unknown company. The startup buzz was not there in the country. So people did not really know whether these companies will survive or grow or not. So how was Mu Sigma as a brand at that time?
At that point in time, honestly, even we did not know, forget about Mu Sigma, right? We didn't even know what was analytics, right? To start with, because this industry had a lot of statisticians, traditionally from non-engineering backgrounds, who have done PhD in math, statistics and stuff like that, right? So even within my own family, it was very difficult for me to explain, because the first thing they were like, oh, is it a music company? Are you, because I like singing. So, you know, people thought this is something that I wanted to take as a passion. So it took a lot of time for me to first explain, you know, for me to understand and then explain what is analytics, what is Mu Sigma doing. But very quickly, as I joined Mu Sigma, I saw that the trend was changing, right? Because that was a period when, you know, recession hit. And when recession hit, a lot of companies realized that you will have to take data-driven decisions. You will have to look at how macroeconomics are going to impact your sales. So that was like one of the first projects that I did in Mu Sigma as well, right? So it was a shift in the industry.
You're telling me that Dheeraj himself was the one who taught you guys, because you were the first cohort, right? First cohort of grads.
Correct.
So how was Dheeraj? Like, what did you learn from him? Like certain things, if you could tell our listeners, viewers, certain things you learned from him, from Dheeraj.
Yeah. So including Dheeraj, there were a lot of other, you know, there was another Raja sir who came from IIMA to teach us, you know, statistics, macroeconomics. Then Dheeraj himself was part of it, where he taught us storytelling, right? It's not so much about statistical models in itself, right? How do you present that insights to the customers? How do you understand problem solving, right? Problem solving is just used everywhere today, but analytical problem solving is something that we were taught as a first class in the Mu Sigma University. And because we were the first, you know, engineering cohort, it was fun because, you know, we were the youngest, you know, crowd in the office, and we were also learning, they were also learning what will work, what will not work. Our perspective on coding was also very different, right? Because
you knew how to code that time?
Back then we had very different kind of coding experience. We wouldn't have even heard about SAS in college, right? So we were exposed to SAS, we were exposed to R. So we were learning multiple things. One is the theory part of it, right? What is marketing? What is problem solving? How do you approach an analytics problem? Then how do you execute it using, you know, codes, algorithms, statistics, etc. And then you have, you know, storytelling, communication. How do you talk to clients, right? How do you articulate the problem? How do you articulate what you have solved for? So it was fun, right? And after the training, all of us were put on client projects, and we had to face clients immediately after the training. So on the ground, it was also, you know, very difficult for us to cope up with, right? Because we scaled very fast at that point in time. So when I joined, it was 100 odd, you know, folks in Mu Sigma, and then we scaled up to, you know, 1,000 plus within the span of 2 years. So lot of us were, you know, on the projects directly, and we were learning. The experience was amazing.
Wow. So in Mu Sigma, you were there for like 2 years.
2 years.
Now, you went to Accenture post Mu Sigma. Now, my question to you is that Mu Sigma on one side, even though it was American based, but it was a very Indian company at heart, depending on the leadership, in a good way. Accenture is a global organization, as we all know. So how was your transition from Mu Sigma to Accenture? What were some things that in the middle of that transition you faced difficulty in adjusting, but eventually did?
Yeah. So in Mu Sigma, you had complete ownership, right? And it's very open culture. Like we could walk up to anyone and discuss and get mentorship, etc. In Accenture, there were too many people, right?
Hierarchy.
Like it's a ocean.
It's a hierarchy.
Yeah, it's an ocean,
Right.
and you're just a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
So I was just, trying to sink in the fact that the kind of visibility that I had in Mu Sigma, I had to work very hard to get the same visibility in Accenture.
Tell me one thing, and this is something I want to understand. Why is visibility, and that is something across the spectrum, across every human being, why do you think we as human beings value visibility too much? Like more than what a company would pay us or whatever. Visibility is something which, and this has become more and more increasingly, I'm seeing that as a trend. Why do you think this is happening?
For me personally, the kind of impact that I create for the company and for the client that I work with is very important to me, right? From my first job till today, that is something that drives me forward, right? So at the initial stage of Accenture, I was struggling because I was trying to shift. It's not like I had many job experiences for me to understand this is the cultural shift, right? So for me to understand that, and my manager was not local, so I was trying to figure out, how do you work, and you have a multicultural, environment, right? I had a teammate from China, then we had a teammate in Europe, then we had an Australian client.
Cool.
So it was a completely global environment. But how did I get accustomed to it? One is by doing a lot of mistakes and then learning on the job. The second is we had good training programs as well. We had a training program in Malaysia where, every team, every cohort, you will have only one Indian, one Korean, one Chinese.
Wow.
So that was an amazing experience, right? You drop everything, whatever projects you're working on, everything, and 2 weeks, you're just focused on working with the different cultures from across the globe.
Wow.
That was a game changer for me, right? And you're not just there to learn technical things. You are solving the problem together. That's where I had a very different perspective about diversity itself, right? Because the way each cultural, folks were thinking was very different from how I have seen in the past. And then my appreciation for the global culture really shot up, right? And that was, something that learned, and it happened over a period of time.
So when you work with people of different nationalities, and that too for a repeated amount of time, you tend to pick up certain things, certain hygiene factors, certain ways of talking, etiquettes, manners, whatever it is, right? So if I had to ask you, if you could name a couple of things you learned from your colleagues who are international that you try to follow in your existing structure.
So one is they give a lot of respect to time, right? That sometimes, within your Indian setup, we just take people for granted. Like
I always do that except today. I'm really sorry. I know it's a dig at me. I'm
No, not at all. We just call people and then we casually talk on a weekend like nothing ever happened, right? You don't see that with other nationalities. They like first apologize to you. They want to, first give that thought as to whether, is it a right time for me to call, and very considerate, right? So that is something that I learned. And, the other thing is about the discipline, right? When they want to start a meeting, end the meeting, they will not overrun, right? You start the meeting at 9, everybody will be there at 9. It will end at 9:30. Even if you are in the, middle of a conversation, you will stop and say, okay, let me schedule another meeting, right? And that is also something that was very, fascinating. These are like good things that I learned. And the other thing is that, the way they work, right? So especially South Asian folks that I have worked with, they're very fast. And they always knew, shortcuts that would, make your life very easy. That is also something that I learned from them. I sat with a guy during the training. I asked him, so how did you practice this? They practice a lot. Yeah, that is also something that I really enjoyed. They take vacations. That's where I learned I had to take breaks very often to clear your mind.
That work-life balance kind of thing.
Correct. I think that's a very abused word.
I'm just trying to
sure. So that's also something that's very fascinating.
And I think one more thing that I have personally learned working with some of these people, the way they respect their subordinates. So normally, if you look at the culture in India or across the country, it has been a very lala kind of culture, where like the boss, people like who are reporting to him or her, like the word is superior. Whatever they say has no meaning. Like normally that's the structure, or at least they'll not acknowledge it. They might do what the person is telling them to do, but they will not say or sort of give them that due respect that they need. But whenever I see a person, an international person, I've always seen that hierarchy, that respect is across the culture. I think that's something to learn.
Yes.
Cool.
I have fortunately been, good with Accenture, Brillio, Music. I have not had, managers and supervisors who have tried to push it on me, right? As a person, I have to be, convinced that I'm doing the right thing. Otherwise, I will go back and argue and, get it. At least either I have to be convinced that, this is something that I have to do, or I will convince them that, no, we have to change the way of working, right? So I think this is changing in India also. But as you rightly said, back then it was not much in India.
So you were employee number 105 or 110 in Musigma. You were employee number 100 in the analytics
Yes,
practice.
I remember me and my friend cutting a cake which said 100.
Employee 100 in Accenture,
Yeah.
like in that practice.
Yeah.
And in Brillio also, if I'm
100
not
odd.
wrong, 100 odd
Yeah.
number. Now, if you could tell us these three companies with respect to scale, where are they now? Musigma, I think, would have like 2,000, 3,000 people.
Not sure as of today.
I'm not sure, but I
Yeah.
think that's the range. Accenture again would have 5,000, 6,000, more than that. I think.
More than that, yeah.
10,000 odd people, more than that. And how many people does Brillio have?
Brillio and analytics close to 1,000, but as Brillio as a company, we are like 7,000
Wow.
odd now. Yeah.
So now you have seen. So I've seen people once they have that high of working in a small team. It's very tough to let that go. As you said, that ability, that access, that visibility that you get in
Yeah.
a small team.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of high,
Yeah.
which sometimes people never get over of. Now, if I look at your journey, you join a company, you help it scale, then again you join a company, help it scale. Again, you also in your own respective ways are going up the ladder.
Yeah.
But I see that in you where you like that 0 to 1 journey
Yeah.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
It gives you a lot of learning, right? There are a lot of things that you can't learn from a course or by going to a university, right? Like the strategies that we would have followed to scale in Accenture would be very different from what we followed in Brillio. And today, like 100 to 1,000, we would have used certain strategies to be there.
Yeah,
but
ji.
1,000 to, like say 10,000, I will have to come up with completely new strategies,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that gives me a lot of kick when I try something, work with, the different leaders, collaborate with them. And then when you have that outcome, it gives you that, whole sense of satisfaction about your job, right? So that really gives me a kick on how do you, do this. And when you see success as well, right? So
But if I look at your journey, right, and you have fairly remained like you have a very stable employment journey if you look at that. Now, here's a question for you, right? Like, in one form or the other, you are making a company grow. But don't you feel that the minute it becomes too big, your excitement levels as any employee or as any person in that org would feel go down?
it depends on how you look at it, right? So I have always taken up newer roles every couple of years. I also take, like breaks. Like sometimes I just go on leave for 30 days
Yeah,
with
that's
nothing.
something that someone was telling me about you, that every 2 years or something,
Yeah.
you go on a sabbatical
Yeah.
and don't do anything.
Yeah. There is no purpose for my sabbatical, right?
What is that? Explain this concept to
I'll
us.
just go on leave for like 30 days, 45 days, just to rewind, okay, what am I doing?
How do you rewind? I want to know.
I do nothing, right? I'll just wake up whenever I want. I'll eat whatever I
Wow.
want. There is no discipline in my
I like
life,
it. I
right?
like
So
it.
I just don't take sabbaticals to learn or, like do yoga. No, nothing. There is no objective for my sabbaticals, right?
But let's talk about sabbaticals, right? Like a lot of people in their lives need it. However big the leader is, when I talk to them and I see their the way their mind works, I see they all get a bit insecure when the talk about a sabbatical comes into picture.
Yeah.
And that might be to do with a couple of factors. One can be that the momentum they have built or they are trying to build, they feel that will go down. Number two can obviously be visibility, that there are other people across the spectrum who are willing to steal that visibility, that limelight. And the third can be, what will I do? Karunga kya main? Like, I have nothing to do. What will I do with a sabbatical?
Yeah.
Now, to all of those people, and you have been a person who has taken these sabbaticals and have gone back up stronger, what would your advice or what would your 2 cents be to them?
See, I think
The insecurity part, right? That's the...
I will address 2 different things, right? One, I don't feel insecure about myself because I have a lot of confidence about my skills. And I know that I can start from anywhere and grow where I want to be, right? Because I have done that multiple times. And I have a playbook of how I am doing this, and I'm very confident about that, right? And number 2, I've had amazing managers who will not think that, okay, she's taking a break to look for a job, right? That insecurity from your manager is also important. So that part also I have not had. Whenever I said, hey, I think I need a break for a month, my managers will like immediately say yes, because, and plus I will give them enough notice. I'll say, okay, this is the time I'm going to be off. These are the responsibilities I have. These are the things that people are going to do. I will plan this ahead. And whenever I'm on break, I'm going to come back saying that, okay, I want to do this role or I want to do a different role. And I don't come and put that on my manager or on the organization that I'm bored of this role. You figure out what I should do, right? I always have clarity after my break, doing nothing for like 45 days. I'm all geared up. I'm very fresh and, you know, I have a lot of energy that is piled up. And I know what I want to do. And I also do another thing, right? I do zoom in roles and zoom out roles. Like sometimes I'll do like roles where I'm leading like 500, 600 people. There are roles where I have immediately after that, I have taken up roles where I'm building something from zero. Like you said, I have that kickoff, you know, that 0 to 1. So I've done that within Brillio also, right? So like couple of years back, I started, you know, this whole AI labs, research council, building this whole data science from scratch. Now I'm building something called generative AI studio. So, you know, building things from scratch is also something that I love. So when it reaches a scale, and I also enjoy managing scale, right? But I do, but then not for a long period of time. So I will keep, you know, switching between zooming in, zooming out. At any given point in time, what is it that I want to do is something that I look at. And for me, I have the signals, right? Monday morning, I have to feel excited about, you know, going back to work. If it is consistent that, you know, like 2-3 weeks, Monday morning, I'm like wondering why am I going to office? That's a signal, right? Then I immediately have a one-on-one with my manager and start doing root cause analysis. That's the biggest problem for me to solve. I love my job, right? I'm like my husband says I'm a workaholic, but I think I genuinely like putting in those additional hours, and I think I'm making an impact with my customers, and that is also something that I'm very proud about, right? Now, when I am not very happy with my role, then that reflects in my mood swings as well. So, which is why I think it's very important to really enjoy what you're doing.
So, if you look at your current role, as you said, Gen AI is something that you guys are really focusing on, you particularly. Now, there has been a lot of talk about Gen AI. I'm not going to go to the generic stuff.
Sure.
I want to understand the use case of Gen AI predominantly in data engineering and data science. Because when we look at our analytics industry, the bulk of that lies in data engineering. Now, at a data engineering level, there are 2 reasons why I want to understand that. Reason number 1, how will a day-to-day working of a data engineer change? That means that how the way they are getting ready, how we are making them ready, how should that evolve from your context? And the second thing I want to understand is at a job market level, where do you see that going, especially for data engineering, data science, in a context of Gen AI? So let's talk about, and again, dumb it down for me. I'm a 5-year-old who has no idea about how coding or any of this works. So explain to me as a data engineer in the data engineering function, how does Gen AI play the use case?
I'm going to attempt because...
but make it very simple.
Yeah, sure. So typically if you look at a life cycle of an analytics project, right? So in traditional machine learning or traditional AI, we have a lot of data and then we are framing a problem, and then I will try to understand what happened in that data. Did this, you know, sales go up? Did it, you know, go down? Say, for example, I'm selling candies, right? So candies went up, candies went down. Then, you know, these are the flavors of candies that sold well. You're trying to learn everything from your historical data. And then you're trying to predict, if I have a new candy, what is going to happen? Right now, in generative AI, in addition to learning the patterns, AI is also going to generate new content for you. right? So here you can also, generate content like what should the design of that candy look like? What should the name of that look like? What are the different designs, right? So you can generate new content from generative AI, and that is the difference that is happening in the market today. Now, if I double click on data engineering, right? Traditionally, in data engineering, we used to modernize platforms or build pipelines. You used to, create synthetic data, and whenever you do pipelines or move from a legacy to a cloud, which is what, last 5 years, most of the work was going on. So you will do a lot of testing. Okay, in my traditional database, it was, it said 1,000 candies were sold. In my new database, am I getting 1,000? Am I getting 900? Am I getting 2,000, right? So those are the test cases that you will generate. This is what a data engineer was doing. Today, if I have to look at the legacy and modern, I can use generative AI to create these queries in itself, right? And you're not going to do lift and shift. Obviously, you can't automate everything, because that whole human element becomes the fundamental element of why this is going to be, successful or not, right? So you will understand what are the things I want to move from my old system to the new system. You are going to, for creating pipelines, you can use generative AI. For creating the codes. Then for testing also, you have a lot of generative AI algorithms that are available, which will understand the context, which can also create functional test cases, which can tell you, okay, these are the scenarios that worked well, that did not work well. So that has, made life easier.
So let us say an average data engineer in a pre-Gen AI world, if you had to divide the 10-hour working across the year, let's say 10 hours is how much they work. How do you usually divide that, and now how would that change? So if I am a data engineer, I work 10 hours in a year. How do you divide that 10 hours normally?
That will be contextual to what language you are using.
Any example.
We'll take a best case scenario where, you were spending 10 hours in generating the code and 10 hours in testing, right? Okay. Now, in code, right, once you get the logic, I think within, you can very easily reduce 5-6 hours of your, the code generation itself. Testing, if you do a pretty good job of automating everything, in 90% of your, the manual work that you used to do, we can automate that and bring in the efficiency.
So you are saying roughly across the spectrum, we would see a 60 to 70% reduction in their work.
Yes.
Now, if that happens, now that's the other part of the context, the job market. Now, in that job market, firstly, you tell us what do you think will happen to data engineers, data scientists in the coming future? And second, tell us that with the new advancements, how should they prepare and how should they remain relevant?
Yeah, there are two questions that you asked, right? Now, data scientists. Now, if I look at data scientists, we used to build a lot of models. We used to understand the internals of models, etc. Now, with AutoML that came into picture, and with all these, cloud technologies like Azure has Azure ML, AWS has SageMaker, etc. Now, that in itself has democratized, data science, right? So you don't need to sit and build models from scratch. You already have models that work well. Now, with foundational models available in the market, all you need to understand is how do I fine tune, how do I engineer. Prompt engineering becomes very important, and inferencing and ops, right? These are the three skills that the data scientists and ML engineers need to understand, right?
Using ML ops.
ML ops. Now, from a data engineering perspective, right, they still have to understand the basics of coding, how the logic works, how do you understand the data model, how do I want to transform it? Because some of these problem solving, critical problem solving that we did from the beginning, that is not going away, right? That because you have to tell AI how to build test use cases. You have to still do prompt engineering, otherwise your results are not going to be great. So the whole human element of problem solving is still not automated by any tool so far, right? So you still have to formulate the problem you want to solve, what you want to solve, how you want to solve, and then use AI to make your life easier. So problem solving as a skill, I think, is going to become very, very important. And maybe everybody should, there is no concept of, okay, I have only used these, I'm becoming an expert only in OpenAI tools, or I'm becoming expert only in, AWS or Google. Now everybody is expected to be like multi-cloud expert. We need to be aware of the advancements that are happening in the industry. So keeping up with the trends is also going to be very important, because you will sit and build something, very complex that somebody would have already, created as a library and open sourced it, right? So that's a second skill. Like a lot of people, joke about, hey, Googling is a skill, right? So you also need to prompt engineer. What are you going to ask ChatGPT, right? Because if your question is not right or relevant, you're not going to get the right kind of output as well. So for you to know how are you going to keep up with the trends and know what is happening in the market, what libraries are coming in the market, how can I make my job easier is also something that everybody needs to learn. These are all like generic things that I'm talking about, right? And communication and articulation, which is very important for both data scientists and data engineers, right? Now, at the end of the day, you're still solving a problem for for a business stakeholder, right? Either you're forecasting for how many candies, are going to sell tomorrow, or you're going to optimize. So I have only like say 100 candies. Where should these 100 candies be? Should it be in Bangalore? How much should be in Mumbai, Delhi? So that optimization problem will also require you to apply thinking and also articulate and communicate with your stakeholders on why did you choose this algorithm over 40 other choices that you have, right? So I think these are going to be fundamentally very important.
But if I say data engineer versus data scientist, I feel data engineers' roles are more secured. I'm just trying to think, right, compared to data scientists, because they require a lot of manual intervention, right?
Correct. And the other way to look at it is, if you want to do AI, your data should be AI ready, right? If you don't have a data platform that is mature enough, then none of the models are going to work.
Most of the banks don't have the data platform, right? So what I have been told is that the Gen AI application, where the bulk of the analytics industry is run by BFSI, and that industry is still in the legacy structures. So the Gen AI use cases might take a lot of time for actually to implement.
Not exactly, because there are a lot of advancements that are happening as well, but infrastructurally that is going to be, very heavy. But I'm also seeing a lot of transformations that are happening in the BFSI industry, right? Especially in the insurance. I'm personally working with a lot of insurance customers on very interesting use cases. The whole claims processing, we are automating for a lot of our customers. We're also looking at how can I start, like say, uploading documents, right? Say, for example, you crash your car and then, you want to upload images. The chatbot in itself can tell you, like, it can go and look at, the image detection, what is the severity of the image, where is the damage, connect it to your policy number, and come back and tell you what is the range, what is the steps that you need to follow. All of these processes are getting automated, right? While you're not going to shift and transform everything available, maybe, a lot of companies might get into the hybrid mode where you have some part still in on-prem and some part in cloud technologies, but they are embracing generative AI because this is going to, very drastically, bring in the efficiency, customer experience. All of these are, very quickly happening in the market.
So tell me, from a job viewpoint, right, job market viewpoint, data engineering and data scientists, do you see their requirement going down in the near future?
It will go up.
It will go up?
Yeah.
No, people.
Yes, it will go up.
Why?
Because you are going to have a lot more applications, lot of industries which
That's
did
what I
not...
wanted to hear. That's what I wanted. Thank you. Yes. That's what I wanted to hear.
Which did not use data, right. Which did not believe in AI. Now they are embracing, now. Manufacturing, like a lot of...
I'm very happy. Thank you.
Customers that I worked with, right? So they never used to look at it. I don't want to change my machine because it's going to be very cost intensive for me to change my machines. So it's okay if we are not, using data, right? The same companies are now coming back to us and saying, hey, we want to use generative AI. Tell us how to do it, right? So that is the impact that I'm seeing in the market. If not, same, I'm sure it will just increase drastically, multiple X.
And new jobs that you think that are going to be created?
I think prompt engineers are something that...
What is prompt engineering? Because we also have that as part of our curriculum, but if I had to really understand, what do you think is prompt engineering?
See, if I have to put it in a very simple language, right, you still have to tell the model as to what should I do, right? So that's where you have, I'll not get into the technical details,
sure.
right? I can tell the model with just one word, or I don't tell anything, but the model still understands that, okay, I have to do, sentiment, or I give some examples and say that, hey, this is how I will do it. So why don't you learn from that, right?
So your rational abilities, your logical abilities should be high.
Correct.
Got it.
It is not just, engineering, right? So the way I would look at it is, science is definitely, the core of all the advancements that are happening. you need engineering skills. Back then when I started in analytics, engineering was a different skill, science was a different skill. Like data scientists will not look at scaling the models, right? You give it to somebody called ML engineer and it was his problem to, go and fix it. Today that is blurring, right? You are, all of us are applied AI, professionals where we are not generating any algorithms from scratch. You are fine-tuning a foundational model, then you do prompt engineering, then you do inferencing, right? So those are the skills that are going to be prevalent in the market. And data engineering, of course, is very important because, like I said, the data being ready for AI is going to be very, very important. So you will see a big shift in the next couple of years where you see a massive increase in the number of jobs that will come up in the market for data engineers, because that is like directly
AI-assisted data engineers, right? AI-assisted data engineers.
AI-assisted data engineers. There are a lot of co-pilots that are already coming up in the market.
Which one do you guys use?
We use like OpenAI algorithms, GitHub Copilot also we use. Now Power BI Copilot is another thing that's coming up right now. The dashboard, AI-enabled BI is another hot topic in the market right now. Lot of companies thought that, okay, generative AI is going to displace the dashboards. That is not going to happen, right? Because it's very expensive for like 10,000 people to ask the same question. So there will still be dashboards. Maybe, people will not go crazy and build 5,000 dashboards. Rather, there will be a balance or a hybrid approach where you decide whether you want to build a dashboard or you want to go for a bot which will ask question and retrieve the same insights that you used to calculate in your mind by looking at, your dashboard.
But visualization as an industry, I feel, is not.
It's not going to scale as much as data engineering and data science, but it is not going to die down as well, right? It is going.
But I feel it's going to have a slow death eventually, because what do people in Power BI Tableau do? Let us be honest, right? After a point, they just visualize that data. Now I am seeing on my laptop, I can just do it in like few minutes, and I have no coding knowledge. So I'm just thinking people who have a little bit of coding knowledge or who are working in companies like these, after a point with tools getting more and more sophisticated, the requirement would be lesser.
Correct.
Very interesting. So now, as I was talking to you earlier, you were telling me about this this topic that is very close to you, about women in the workplace, women in leadership. And as you said, you have a very personal experience in your overall journey where you have felt certain things. We want to know more, if you want to talk more about that. And then what is your suggestions, like how do we make it better, if you could tell us that.
Yeah. So I think till the time I got married, right? So it was all, for me, it was truly equal, right? Because you all are, aiming for the same things. You have the same kind of opportunities, etc. But then after that, there is always, like the primary caregiver, secondary caregiver concept is still there, right? While it is prevalent for men also to take break during maternity leaves, etc. But still, the whole 9 months that you go through, the health-wise, the kind of changes that we go through, and then you suddenly are, responsible to take care of another human being till the kids reach, 5 years. They are going to fall sick, multiple times. So there are only finite amount of sick leaves that are available. And I was a mom who was always very scared. Like I couldn't trust even with my own parents to leave my son and go to work. Right? There are times when I used to put him in a carry cot and take him to office. And even now I do that, right? I'm still not very comfortable right now. You can say, hey, we have many daycares that are available, etc. But there are many days when your child would not want to go to daycare, right? We need to have that option for us to be able to, have that kind of flexibility. Today, this work from home culture has become like a big thing after pandemic, right? Before pandemic, there was a long process that existed where you have to go explain why you want to work from home, etc. Fortunately, I've always chosen companies which was more flexible, which looked at what is the value that I bring to the table rather than where I'm working from and what time I'm working from. So those are some of the things that I have personally seen really good women leaders, my colleague, my network, who stopped working after having a child because they were tired of explaining to their managers, to their HR on why they want to work from home, why the kid falls sick every month. You have no explanation to that, right? In Bangalore, the kids are going to fall sick up to, certain age till the immunity becomes okay.
Yeah.
There might be days when they just feel tired, they just feel exhausted. Back then, the maternity leave itself was only 3 months, right? So within 90 days, you have to, prepare yourself and then come back. And also a lot of people say that, hey, this is your choice. You made a choice to come to work. So, you can't have it all, right? I'm also against that dialogue, right? I want to have it all. And I have figured a way to, have it all. And I keep, talking to a lot of women who are in that stage where, they are progressing from a relationship to marriage to having kids. The another thing that I have seen with my friends is they wait for the certain level in their career because they think that they will have the flexibility to take these decisions. That's also wrong, right? Because I got married very early in my career. Then we had kid. My kid is almost, like 10 and a half, 11 now. So it's about, navigating your journey and trying to negotiate with whoever you're working with on how you want to add value and how you want to make both of this work. Pandemic was very tough for me, right? Because suddenly, you have everything on you, right? Like usually, like fortunately in India, you have a lot of help and, a system around you which will allow you to focus on work more. But suddenly when pandemic happened, you don't have any help around. You have a kid who is 100%, your responsibility. You have to engage with the kid, and also you have the same amount of work and if not more, because we are doing a lot of things remotely, right? So that period was very tough for me to figure out how do I make it work, right? So I took a pause, I took a couple of days break, and then I figured what are the things that I am doing which I shouldn't be doing. What are the things that I will shout out for help, right? I did have a chat with my husband. We divided the responsibilities. We had a chat with our kid. We figured how to automate. That's when I got dishwasher. I got this whole floor mopping thing, right? So it's very important for us to keep thinking about what I want and how do I achieve it, rather than saying that okay, you can't have it all. It's prioritize this or that.
So
right?
what
it's a wrong way to do it.
What you're saying is a systemic problem, right? It's not just in one organization, in one household. It's across the spectrum.
Yes.
So what do you think is the solution? Because the solution will take time to show results, but we need a solution that can change this at a root cause level. What do you think is the root cause level?
I think the first thing is cultural mind shift, right? Because somebody is asking for flexibility, it does not mean that they don't want to grow in career. If somebody says, I want to work from home for 1 year, it does not mean that, okay, this person wants to slow down.
Right.
Because when I was pregnant, right, my 9th month, I got promoted in Accenture, right? Because I could not sleep, but I used that for work, right? I used to work a lot because I couldn't sleep. But that's a choice that I have to make, right? Maybe I wanted to slow down. Maybe, some years I will want to slow down, but I will communicate that to my manager instead of they assuming that, okay, she's pregnant, so maybe, she might want to slow down. Oh, she has a small kid, so maybe she doesn't want to travel, right? I have traveled when my son was an infant. And he is used to that, right? So he knows. It's very important for us also to explain to our kids that you're not prioritizing work over child or child over work, right? It's going to be a constant prioritization. Today, I might want to prioritize my work over child. Tomorrow, it will be a different scenario. And I think the individual will have to make that choice instead of the society making that choice. Society telling that, okay, I think you have to slow down. You have to wait till, your kid becomes this. Or your kid has board exams, so maybe you should take a break. So I think you should stop giving random free advice to people.
I think when you said culturally, I think one thing that really affects culture is that type of content they consume, the pop culture around them. And with these Netflixes, Amazon Primes of the world, Disney coming to India, and sort of democratizing that international content, what I'm personally seeing is, at least people of my generation, there's a massive shift in the way they think of gender roles. Is because of the content they consume. Don't you feel that?
I agree.
That's a good
I think
thing.
that is a good thing, right? Because now you have more global exposure. You also look at, despite of all the support that we have today, there are, other challenges as well, right? Like menopause is another thing that I've seen where a lot of people that I have looked up to, they had to quit their job because they just found it very tough to deal with, right? So I'm already thinking, how will I deal with it when I'm in that stage? What should I do? And it's also not a race, right? So, and if I'm telling you that, hey, I want to prioritize my child 50% of the time, and I also want to grow as much as another, peer, that is also not fair, right? I need to have my own realistic goals and my own path or journey to become what I want. That is another problem that happens with women ourselves, right? We will think that, okay, I need to be in this race, and then, we exhaust and burn out ourselves.
So, let's say there's a girl who's 22, 23, wants to start a career in analytics. You don't know anything about her. You take any assumptions you want. How would you advise her, like, that things you have learned from your career around you, that she should know they exist, she should be ready for them and face them head on? Generically, you don't know that person, you don't know what they want, but generically.
See, I would ask her to first, not mix up her professional journey and personal journey, right? Both are not correlated, and you don't have to plan one with the other.
Sure.
Your promotion cannot be correlated with you having a child or going through, something in your personal life, right? I would ask her to keep both of them differently and have different goals, right? In personal journey also you will have goals, which is important to have your own goals. You can have financial goals. That's another thing, right? Not many women, like when I started, I didn't have like a big financial goal as such. But over a period of time, I started, learning a lot of things, which I wish I had learned at the start of my career.
Financial literacy.
Yeah. So that is also important. And then where you want to be, what you want to do in your professional career, that is also very important. And these need not, interject with each other. And in your professional journey, if you want something, only you will know how much you want it, right? The other thing is that we can't expect, everyone to understand and then, motivate you, etc. You have to motivate yourself. You are on your journey. I motivate myself, right? I'm not waiting for anyone to clap for me or, do that, right? Once you reach a certain stage, you have to do that for yourself, and you have to go after it like it's nobody's business, right? So that is what, I will tell the girl who's starting her career. And have mentors. That is also important, right?
You've had mentors in your career?
I have had mentors in my career, like different stages of life, different, kind of mentors, right? In Accenture, I had a mentor whose wife actually quit. So when I was having my kid, his wife had quit, and after that she couldn't rejoin, right? So he was an excellent mentor. A lot of times women think that I have to have a women mentor who has gone through this so that I will be able to do it, right? That is also a wrong notion. Like I have had really good male mentors who were able to, acknowledge what I went through and give me suggestions. Maybe you will have a very different perspective. Maybe, my challenges are not going to be the same as what somebody else has gone through. So you can also be creative with, getting suggestions from your male mentors as well. So
cool. So I think moving to the last segment that we have,
yep.
we try to look at certain routines in your life, certain habits in your life that have really shaped you. Now, for any person, when you look at them as a holistic individual, you definitely want to talk to them about health and fitness. So with respect to health and fitness, tell us things that have been working for you, that you have been doing, and how can we learn from that?
I don't know if anybody can learn from that, but I'll tell you, I'm obsessed with data. So I collected a lot of data. Like when I, had a baby, I think I was like really overweight. I started with 85 kgs. Today I'm like 60 odd, right? So, so I've lost
25 kgs.
25 kgs I lost over a period of time.
Wow. Crazy.
But last year is when I lost 12 kg. The last 12 kgs was just not going.
And that is
the hardest, weight for me to lose, and I've sustained without doing much, right? One thing that I've learned is don't try to don't over-engineer with what you do, right? When you're trying to change something as part of your lifestyle itself, which does not fit into how you have had your life, then that becomes a big change. I'll tell you, I started off with diet, right? I hired a dietitian, and then that was not sustainable for me at all because I need coffee. I was a ice cream addict till about last year. I used to have ice cream every day, right? So good day, bad day, I'll just find reasons to have ice cream, right? So
sugar or no sugar ice cream?
I don't care. I just
like
have
it.
all
Very
kinds of ice cream. You give me kulfi, like
Nice.
anything, right?
Yes.
I used to love that, right? And this is a habit that I picked up from childhood.
Yeah.
I had a sweet tooth, and I also like spicy food. So I used to eat a lot. So this nutritionist was very hard on me. She asked me to go on 1 day fast in a week, and then all juice diets did not work for me. Then she put me on keto diet. I'm a vegetarian, so didn't have too many options. That didn't work for me. Then I started doing workout, going to gym. That was another painful journey because I was not very motivated.
किया क्या फिर आपने सब कुछ छोड़ दिया?
No, it did.
So what worked?
So then I, did something called Cult Transform program. I joined.
The cult one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Online one or the
online one, right? So I'm very lazy. I just cannot
How was
go. It really changed my
Ritik
life.
I don't know he teaches some class or something there. I have heard. I don't know.
Not sure, but
Not sure.
my coach was very helpful, right? So no, I wish.
Yes.
But they worked with me on what works for me. Like, for example, I can't skip coffee in the morning, right? So she said, okay, then don't skip coffee. So we made a list of negotiables and non-negotiables. And then I started collecting data. Now, I can't go to gym. So I tried all kinds of workouts, right? Pilates, yoga, and then all this strength and, fitness training, all that, right? Finally, I tried dance. Like, dance fitness is something that I really enjoyed. Anything, right? So I will tell her that, hey, this is what I'm eating, right? Then she'll say, okay, you have had biryani today, go and do Bollywood Punjabi today, like 50 minutes. Then I burn the calories. And
Very cool.
I feel so good about myself.
Amazing.
I don't think this is a method or anything that exists, but it worked for me.
Good idea.
And
Good
she
idea.
knew that I was getting, very high. And I like biryani and Coke. I mean, I'm a vegetarian, so you can, you might argue that it's not biryani, but so I used to really enjoy. So that gave me a lot of motivation. And for you to see motivation, also you need to see results,
Yeah, 100%.
right? So within like 3-4 weeks, I shed like 5-6 kgs, right? So every day I was consistent. And I liked dancing. So I started with 30 minutes of simple salsa, and then we built on it, right? So every day she will suggest a different playlist for me also. That gave me like, variety. Like today I don't know what dance I'm going to do. So that list was like very different.
Very cool.
Very recently I did this Unstoppable playlist. That was like a 8-week dance program. So you just...
You do it alone?
I do it alone at home, and you have this energy meter. Like I said, I'm obsessed with numbers.
Yeah.
So I will try to, go top 10 in the class. I will want to post it on Instagram. So that also gives me that push because I'm obsessed with numbers and try to be top in the class in school, right? So that habit of mine started, coming in. Then I drink a lot of water. So she asked me to drink like 3.5 liters to 4 liters water. I started measuring. So the other thing is, a lot of times we don't measure. So we don't know what impacted and what did not impact. So I started collecting my own data, how much food I'm eating, how much water I'm drinking.
Still do that?
I still do that. I just don't do any actions with that, right? I just know that.
Know on broad level.
And I feel very good about it also. Okay, I've had this much, water. I'm counting my steps. I, look at my heart rate.
So
how
what
many
I
hours
do
did
for
I...
water is that I have like bottles in my cabin, right? So one bottle is 750 ml. So in my head, I also have to do 3.5 liters. So I have to drink 5 bottles. So when I come in the morning, I take 5 bottles out. That by the end of the day, these 5 bottles need to be done. Yeah. So some form of measurement.
Correct.
Some form of measurement.
In the morning, I started having this lemon and chia seeds.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah. I try to have dinner before, 7. And then morning, I have only like coffee, chia seeds, coconut water. And then I start having food only at 11:30, 12.
Like proper intermittent.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I don't know if it's proper intermittent because people said I'm not supposed to have coffee, but I run on coffee, so
You cannot stop it.
yeah.
But you have it with milk or without milk?
With milk.
Then it is not. No, but fair enough. Now, so fitness is one thing. Now, with respect to being updated, what do you read? What kind of content do you consume, or do you don't you just go with the flow?
I do, consume a lot of content, but it's also driven by problems, right?
Okay.
Because if I just start looking at what is available in LinkedIn itself, for example, right? I get FOMO sometimes that, oh shit, I don't know this, I don't know that, right? So now I'm looking at it from a problem perspective. Now, the good thing about being in a service industry is that you get exposure directly with your clients. So you keep hearing their problems, and then it challenges you to go and figure out the solution.
Right.
Then you solve it, and then you create a new problem. Then you go and solve it, right? So that is how I have learned in my career. Through a customer's problem and how you solve it. I generally don't go and learn algorithms without having an application, because that also makes me forget, right? So that is my method of doing it. And I do like a lot of online courses as well. They're like, it's a mix of Udemy or Coursera or YouTube. It's a mix of a lot of content, but it's typically driven by the problem statement and not the other way around, where okay, I want to get certified in this, so I'll go and do that, right? I think industry is also understanding that it's about your problem solving and whether you know how to solve that, rather than for you to, okay, I am certified in this, so you should be an expert.
Makes sense. Perfect. I think one last question. I think this has been a fantastic conversation. What would your one piece of advice be to any individual who's in their 20s, figuring out what to do in their lives, to any individual? What would your one piece of advice be looking at your own journey?
Choose a job that you're passionate about, right? Because this is going to be a long-term journey.
Sometimes you don't know what you're passionate about. How do you know that?
You will figure it out, right? And then try new things.
Till you are not, keep leaving jobs or wait for it to...
See, within a company itself, there are a lot of roles that people can do. What I have realized is the younger crowd, right? They just, if they get frustrated with one project, they just think they have to leave. But it's okay, right? Maybe they did not like that project, or they did not like the environment, or they didn't like the technology, skill. It could be 100 other reasons why you are not enjoying that, right? It's very important for us to do that root cause analysis of why didn't I like it?
Right.
And then fix that problem, right? It can be moving to a different project, or it can be moving to a different company itself, right? So
very valid advice. So I think thank you so much, Muthu. I had a very, very good conversation with you. And one thing I really liked was that got to learn a lot. At the same time, before our conversation, what we did not record, learned a lot about the business, how this business flows. Thank you so much for coming. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was fun.